Now what's the Noah offering?
Sanji po keju shi meito
How's everybody today? Doing good? How good? Oh, really? Wow, that's super nice. Is it like that every day? How do you know? How do you know it's not like that every day? How do you know it's not based on your perception? Maybe it's like this every day. Don't you think?
Yeah, you're right.
Don't we put the color to life?
Yes.
Don't we give the taste to life? The smell to life? It's up to us, right? I mean, who is the perceiver of all of that?
We are.
Right? So if we choose how to perceive, then we are the captains of our boats. Okay, so anyways, great to see all of you. It's very nice here. I'm very happy. It's my last talk for a long time. So I go back to being who I really am. Because for me it's complicated, you know, to have to be in this situation and act this way. This is not who I am. You know, this is not at all me. I'm not Lama Ösel, or I'm not a teacher or any of that. But somehow, you know, it happens like that I end up in this situation. So if it makes people happy, if it can help people.
Can you maybe turn
a bit more, maybe upwards, or is that the maximum?
I don't think it's the maximum to be very close.
Up? No? Okay.
It doesn't need to be very close.
Okay, so just like that, it's okay.
Turn the volume up.
It's okay. Like, can everybody hear properly? Okay. Yeah. So for me, I have my life. You know, I mean, I am who I am in that sense. My concept of who I am, at least. It's just a concept. And I have his son. So he's my main project, my main priority. So everything else will be secondary. And I'm really happy to be of service and to be here. This is not my style, to sit on the throne and talk is not my style, but at least we're on the same level, right? So we can see each other in the eyes. So you can call me a virtuous friend if you want, even though I may not be too virtuous. I'm very self-critical. But yeah, I'm not a guru or a teacher or any of that. Okay, so just to make things clear. So it's an exception for me to put myself in this situation, okay? So it's not something that I do often. So now, and probably until November, in the Kopan November course, I won't be really talking in public again. So I just want to thank you, you know, so that like for me, I'm sharing this with you, you know, this experience. It is, I learned the same, you know, like for me, every time I talk, I learn. And I receive also a lot of love and understanding and caring and enthusiasm. So I'm really grateful, and I really hope to be able to help you also. Okay. So I don't know, where should we start? What do you want to start with? Do you want to just to start talking, or you want me to start on certain subjects that you would like me to specifically?
Can you tell us the beginning of how you know who you are?
How? Ooh. Okay. We're starting really hard, huh? The beginning of how I know who I am. Whoa, that just goes on forever, right? That's a lifelong experience, or many lifetimes maybe. I'm gonna move this, okay? Okay, now I can be straight.
Yeah, that's how I got that. That's nice.
Okay. All right, so now we're cooking with gas, yes?
We're turn it up a little too, so that you don't feel like it's not so loud.
So I don't think I will ever know who I am. That's number one. Maybe one day. Hopefully that's what Dharma is helping us with. But of course, it's our own job. You know, it's a personal job to really get to know oneself. And I don't think we ever actually really do get to know ourselves, because we're always happening, right? You're not something. If you're just something, then you couldn't continue breathing. You're happening, you know. So it's changing all the time, you know. It's the second after the second after the second. You know? The result of the cause. So, changing, right? So that's why you can't really say, oh, I know who I am, or I am this. And this doesn't make sense. Of course it makes sense in your head, because we like to put things in boxes, and we make sure that we think that we're in control. We think we're in control, but what do we control?
Nothing.
Well, we control our choices, maybe, partially. Yeah, hopefully. We control our karma. I mean, that's one thing that we have to take responsibility for, is our karma, our merits, right? Our values, inner values, how we relate to people, how we relate to life. These are all aspects that we are responsible for. So you could say you're in control of that, sometimes. But many times we just have the illusion of thinking that we're in control, but that's why also we suffer so much, you know, because we create these expectations. These concepts are completely unrealistic. Also happiness. We search for happiness. Oh my God, do we search for happiness? Everyone. Always. We will step on people to find happiness. And we know that is a direct cause of suffering. Knowing it. You know, by creating someone else's suffering, how are you going to be happy? It's impossible. But they call it the American dream, right? I'm sorry to say, but it's a harsh truth. It doesn't matter if you step on other people to become rich or to achieve your dream. It's okay. People will admire you for that. It's I don't know if it's a bit ruthless. I think we should always be aware, you know, of the surroundings of the people. You know? That's why the first step of being happy is to be grateful. Because we are giving importance to the things that truly matter. If you focus on that, that's what's going to prevail in your life, right? Whatever you focus on, whatever you give energy to. So if you're not grateful, then all you're thinking about is what you don't have, what you don't want, right? And then that becomes the prevailing thing, what you fear. That's what you're focusing, that's what you're projecting, that's what you're attracting, what you're creating. So as long as you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm grateful to be alive. When you go to sleep, I'm grateful to be alive. And I want to dedicate this, you know, I want to dedicate this precious human rebirth. At least partially, right? For the benefit of others and beings. Starting with oneself. Just that is going to change your life completely. If you do it every day, I mean, you can do it one day and that's it, okay. But if you want to have any success or any kind of result, then you will have to dedicate. You must dedicate. It's foolish otherwise, right? I mean, how can you say, I want to help all mother sentient beings and be lazy? Then it's ridiculous. It's just blah blah blah, basically. Okay, great. The intention is very important. It's the beginning, but it's not enough. We can have all the good intentions in the world until our comfort zone is not shackled, it's not moved, it's not rocked. Our intention will mean nothing, if we don't put it in practice. So that is one of the issues, that we're in our comfort zone. We're so comfortable in our comfort zone. But actually the truth is that we're living in hell. We think we're living in heaven, but we're living in hell. Bob Marley said that a long time ago. It's true. Also Bob Marley, he said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourself can free your mind. And that's the same. The Lamrim talks about it also. Buddha talked about it. So it's a universal kind of aspect, mechanism that works for everybody. Like the concept of one big love. That idea is a mixture of Bob Marley's One Love and Lama Yeshe's Big Love. It's a fusion between the two. The one love of Bob Marley, which is a universal love, the love of a mother to their children, the unconditional love of wanting the best for others. That kind of love, that universal love that applies to everybody in all dimensions, whether it be animal, human, or whatever you want to call it. And so that kind of one love is universal. That is one love. I mean, people related to, smoking marijuana, or the Rastafaris, or this and that. But, okay, everything has its aspects. If you want to focus on one thing, that's what you're going to get, right? And you just see that. If you want to see the big picture, there's many other aspects. Everything has different aspects. So the interesting aspect, the one that I want to use, is that one love universal concept of everybody being a family. The blood in our veins is the same color, right? And everybody relates to hugs, everybody relates to a smile. Anywhere in any culture, the word mama symbolizes a mother. So those are very basic things that, happens all over the world, even though many times we may think, there's no connection between cultures. Why is that universal, right? But I guess it's something felt with the heart, I don't know. So that one love, that's what it's talking about. And big love, of course, is Lama Yeshe's concept of maha love, right? Maha, big, universal. So it's the same thing, but it's just two words put together, fused. Just to bring a little bit the East and the West together in one word. Anyway, so what else? Discipline, dedication. If you don't have that, then forget it. You can go just, lie down and go to sleep and keep sleeping. Wake up to eat, to drink, go bathroom, enough, right? There's a very famous story about is it Shanti Deva, I think Shanti Deva. At the time of Nalanda Monastery in India. Nalanda Monastery was one of the most important monasteries in the history of Buddhism, right? In India. At that time they were using, I think they were speaking probably Sanskrit or Pali, probably. And there were about 20,000 monks, and many of them were pandits, very famous pandit. Pandit is like a doctor, right? Kind of a PhD graduate at that time. We call them pandits. So anyways, there was this one pandit, before he became a pandit, his name was Shantideva, and he was really lazy. So he would basically, they would call him Busuku in Sanskrit. I'm not sure if Sanskrit or Pali. Is it Sanskrit? Busuku? Means eat, sleep, shit. So all the monks would go into the prayer hall, and then he would lie down on their shoes and sleep. And when they came out, he'd still be sleeping, so they had to push him so they could get their sandals back. So everybody would be so annoyed with him, because he just... And so they judged him a lot. And then one day, I think, the nunnery and the monastery got together. They wanted to prank him. So the nunnery, they invited him to give teachings. And then, so they thought he was going to ridiculize himself or something. So just to make sure that he would ridiculize himself, they put him in a really high throne, but with no stairs to get on top. So of course they didn't expect at all, this guy who could. So anyways, he arrived there and then he saw the throne and his arm became really long, pulled down the throne, sat on it and the throne went back up again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then everybody was in shock and then he started talking. And then as he was speaking, he started floating and then halfway through he disappeared. So for, I think 4 years they were looking for him to finish the teaching. They're looking for him everywhere, desperately. And they found him finally in front of a cave somewhere in the forest. He had been hunting deer and he had like all these skins of deer in front of his cave. So again they had these doubts, wow, this guy, is it him, you know? Does he really have these powers? So they asked him to give teachings anyways, and then he said, something like that, something, you know, related to emptiness. I'm not sure what he was saying. But he would do like that and then the skins would jump as deers and they would run away. So every single one of them, till the last one. And then he sat down and he finished the teachings. So they're written down. There's I don't know how many chapters. You should know about this, right?
9. Well, there are 10 chapters.
10 chapters is by Shantideva, right?
Yep.
So that's what the story of how those 10 chapters came to be. But anyway, that idea just came into my head because I was talking about laziness, right? So I'm talking about myself, okay? So if you don't really dedicate, if you don't make effort, you know, there is going to be no result. I mean, we're not all Shantideva, right? I mean, we have to relate to ourselves as striving human beings who have difficulty. I mean, I strive every day. I struggle every day. We just try not to give up. That's mainly the factor that we're looking for. So, and sometimes, okay, it's okay to procrastinate, you know, take a break, it's good. Breathe, rest, recover, but then go back to work, you know. And work is not work to earn a living, of course, that's super important. The education system is teaching us how to work, right? But how to live, I think, is more important. We don't live to work, we work to live, right? So I think living is really the more important part of that aspect. And of work, the real work would be to train our mind. The same way you train a muscle, the same way you train different aspects that you want to achieve, whatever it is. And of course you have to go through the process of failure. I mean, if you make mistakes, it's a very good thing. If you don't make mistakes, it means you're not doing anything. If you're not doing anything, you will make mistakes. So then, you know, it's like, that's time to question, am I really making an effort? Am I really taking risks? So that's how it is, you know. If you don't tame your mind, then your mind's going to be taming you. And you're going to be the person being dragged by the wild bulldog around the street. The bulldog will be chasing some chicken somewhere. Or maybe female bulldog, who knows. Right? So you'll just be dragging. That'll be your life story, being dragged around by the mind. It's a bulldog. Undomesticated bulldog, or whatever you want, pit bull, or whatever, a dinosaur if you want. You can become a dinosaur Rex if you're not careful. It's true. You know, it really is true. The ego can become so big. It's not just the mind, it's also the ego, you know. We feed that aspect. We fool ourselves. We have these mechanisms of self-defense that the ego creates. And then we do not want to check. We do not want to observe. We do not want to challenge that aspect of ourselves. We're too scared. We're scared of our potential. I don't know. Each person is different, you know. I guess we all have different aspects. But that's the thing, you know. If you don't challenge that aspect of you, if you don't focus, if you are a coward, you know, and you're scared of your own potential, if you're scared of challenging and confronting that fear that you have, then you're going to be bypassing. And you can have all kinds of bypasses. You take refuge in something in order to avoid confronting yourself, right? So, I mean, there's so many different aspects of taking refuge, you know. Can we have some examples, maybe? What kind of refuge do people take in, like? TV? Did you say TV? Yes. Thank you. What else?
Food.
Food. Oh, yeah. What else?
Whiskey.
Whiskey, yeah, exactly. Alcohol. Yeah. What else?
Other people.
Drugs.
Other people, company, formless attachments, formless grasping, you know, the sensations that we get from external agents, or how somebody makes us feel, or how we feel when we do certain things, like, you know, adrenaline, you know, like that, or even what? Spiritual bypass. You know, take refuge in the Guru. I'm not talking about the actual traditional refuge where we take refuge in the Dharma, Buddha, Sangha. I'm talking about that refuge, that grasping, that, oh, I need this in order to avoid, you know, avoid confronting myself. That kind of bypassing, that kind of refuge. In order to avoid something, and trust me, you will have to confront yourself eventually, no matter what. And it's only going to be you. Nobody else is going to do that for you. That's something really important you have to be aware of. So, how many times it happens? Oh, the Guru, the Guru, the Guru, the Guru, the Guru. Or like, for example, oh, the teaching, oh, the Dharma, the Dharma, the Dharma. Or anything, any religion, or any, the alcohol, a car, or a idealization. We get so attached to that, and then 20 years pass by, and then we realize that we haven't really done much. We still have the same issues. And actually they're maybe worse, because we let them take root. We let them take form, be present. And then the older we get, sometimes it gets more difficult to change because we are stuck in our habits. So then to break those habits is even more difficult. It's more of a challenge. It's not impossible. It's just more of a challenge. Sometimes the bigger the challenge, the better the result, right? The bigger the gift. So everything has its good parts, and that's what you have to focus on. You know? And if you want to focus on the negative parts, at least just use it to improve, to learn, right? But if you focus on that all the time, then that's what's going to prevail in your life, and then you're just going to be dragged down. Something negative happened in your life, and you see it as something negative that harmed you, then it's going to be a weight. That's it. A backpack full of lead. But if you choose to use it as a lesson, then it's going to be a catapult. And you'll be the living example to help others to go through the same issues. So that's a positive way to see things. For example, just an example. So just what I'm trying to say is make sure that you confront yourself every day, that you observe your mechanisms, that you actually do not lie to yourself or try to fool yourself, you know, before you take refuge in anything. Because that is complementary, taking refuge, you know. That is complementary, but don't use it as a bypass to avoid the true work that you have to do. Does that make sense? Yes. Alright, so I don't know, I mean I can keep talking forever, but I want to have more like, kind of like, you know, feel of what you want me to talk about. It helps a lot. Okay.
You just said, you know, talk about the true work that we are here to do. Could you expound on that?
The true work that we're here to do, what? As humans?
Yes.
The true work that we have. Well, I mean, obviously, each person is completely different, and we all have different perspectives, different aspects. Different circumstances we've had to live in. The culture, the tradition, the language, experiences, everything changes so much. It's so relative. But I feel that we're here to learn. It's a process. We're here to share, to receive and to give. That is love, in a way. But the main purpose here is to improve, in order to help others also to improve. You know? Because that's, I mean, we don't really know, scientifically even, like, nobody can really explain to you what are we doing here. What is this body, where do we come from, where are we going, what's our purpose. I mean, we all have to find that ourselves. And that is the beauty of it also. Because the mystery is beautiful, you know, the beauty of the mystery. Because if there's no mystery, man, life would be so boring. And if we already knew everything's going to happen tomorrow and what we're doing here, we'd probably, I don't know, nothing would make sense, you know, because we already know what's going to happen. So we'd be like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time doing this or doing that, or whatever it is, I don't know. Who knows, right? So it's a good thing sometimes that we don't know, I guess. Good thing or bad thing, I have no idea. But it's a beautiful thing, at least. From my perspective, I think sometimes the fact that we don't know some things gives so much space for fantasy and imagination. And then life becomes really beautiful, you know. I mean, when I was a child, that's all I got. All I had was fantasy, imagination. I didn't really have much more. And books. That's it. Apart from my studies and the time I went to sleep, and I would dream. So that was also very nice. But those were mainly the things that I had to do, because I was most of the time alone or studying, and that was it. So yeah, imagination is something that really, you know, that's why visualization also, you know, meditation, visualize, it helps to create that kind of aspect. This is fantasy. If you look at the body, man, wow. We just forget about it. You know, when I had this son, then I realized, I said, like, from a little piece of meat like that, we end up inventing gods, creating gods. Starts with a little piece of meat like that, you know. And that starts becoming bigger, 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 bigger. And then suddenly that thing becomes a human and invents gods, or creates gods, whatever you want to call it. Or makes planes, or what, all of this, you know, created by the mind. So it's amazing, the potential, you know, and how magic it is. I mean, not just this body, the fact that we can control it. Oh, control, right? Not true control. Just appearance. But at least temporarily it's available for us to be able to experience reality through these 5 senses that we perceive, right? So just that is just so magical. How can we not be amazed? Oh, I think and I move at the same time. Or I can perceive all 5 senses at the same time. There's something that's perceiving it. And when that something goes away, then this body disintegrates. Goes back to stardust. How amazing is that, you know? So this body stays together, and the food I eat becomes this body while my consciousness is within me. Don't you think that's magic? And forget about that. Think about how the sun rises and the ritual of the birds and all the animals every day. Or just the wind making the trees dance, for example. I mean, just these things that we call normal. If you actually observe it, it's just magic. Wow. That's life. That's, you know, that's so special. It's such a treasure every day. So precious. And we probably are not even aware of, I don't know, like, nothing, basically. We are aware of something that doesn't even exist. Just a concept in our head. That's it. What we see has absolutely nothing to do with the reality. The object that we supposedly are perceiving or observing or interpreting. The true object is not really the true object, right? I mean, it's just here or wherever you want to call it, that doesn't matter. But there's something is happening, right? Every day we have legs, we walk, we wake up, we go to sleep. And so basically we have sensations and we react, right? I want this, I don't want that, and I'm indifferent to everything else. So we're conditioning by reacting to the sensations. We're conditioning. Through that conditioning, we're creating suffering also, and habits. So all these things are processes that we have to be very aware of, and that's what Dharma is helping us about, okay? So just to answer your question, that's what we're doing here. We're learning a process, and once we've learned, we'll probably continue learning the next process, and so forth. And as long as we are egoist, and as long as we're super self-centered, and all we want is my happiness, me, then we'll probably be stuck in that process for a long time. We'll be suffering on top of that, a lot. So, but remember, suffering is temporary, just like happiness. Well, happiness as a state of mind is different, but you know, like this temporal happiness of, oh, I'm satisfied, but now I'm not satisfied, and tomorrow I'm satisfied. That one is just a concept. Satisfaction really, as long as you're in the moment, then you'll be satisfied. Right? If you're really present, if you're grateful, if you're in the present, if you're aware, then you'll be satisfied, because you're living the moment. Unsatisfaction means I don't have enough, I want more. I want what I don't have. And attachment means I'm scared of losing what I don't have, or what I think I have. Right? And rage is inviting an uninvited guest to your house and giving him full power of your house. That's rage. In the middle of the night, at 4 a.m. Sunday. And for example, jealousy is comparing, where there's absolutely nothing to compare with. If you want to compare, you compare with yourself yesterday. If you want to improve, you want to compete with yourself. You cannot judge anybody. You can't even judge yourself because you don't even know yourself. How are you going to judge others? You don't know anybody. You don't even know yourself. You don't even know how you're going to react tomorrow in certain circumstances. So, we really have to stop fooling ourselves. We act like we're immortal. It's true. We talk to people like everybody's immortal, like we're immortal. And then suddenly something happens, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, every morning we're being reborn. Every night we're dying. It's just a process. And even the hours during the day is like our lifetime. The morning we're a little bit like that. The best time of the day is like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. We're fresh, strong, and then it starts declining a little bit. We get a little bit more heavy, and we get ready to be more like just observing like that. Anyways, but each person has the schedule. I mean, if you study, for example, Ayurveda, they will talk about the times during the day based on the sun cycle, right? And the moon cycle and all these. I mean, people before used to be really wise, People used to really know about Earth and what they grow, what they eat, about the stars and about who we are. We're losing that a little bit. That's one of the reasons I want to create eco-villages all over. So that people can learn about permaculture, can learn about Ayurveda, can learn about Tibetan medicine, can learn about different workshops, handicraft, meditation workshops, dance workshops, all kinds of things that can come together and integrate. That doesn't mean we're going to lose tradition. Tradition is the trunk, it's the base, it's the roots, so that it doesn't get lost, so it doesn't become some kind of fluffy, cheesy, new age concept. It has to stay, according to the teachings of the Buddha, but then of course the branches are there, so we can branch out. And I think that's super important, especially today, the 21st century. Faith used to be a really important factor. Before, in the feudal system, in the medieval age, faith was super important, and it worked. Because people had faith, and that's one of the mechanisms that work within ourselves. It's different mechanisms that people have discovered, and they put that into practice and offer that process so that we can get to those realizations and understandings. But today, 21st century, these things, we have to adapt also to the time, So faith is not so easy anymore. People, it's like, we see something, we believe 50%, and we don't believe anything that we don't see, right? I mean, hopefully it's like that. But so if we don't adapt, then it's difficult to really reach everybody, because many people are suffering, and a lot of them don't even know they're suffering, So how are we able to really help them to have a really fulfilling life? And I think that's one of the purposes also, is to have a fulfilling life. And how to have a fulfilling life is to really help others, starting with oneself. Dedicate your time to improve as a human, so we can really be of use. And I don't think we're natives on Earth. I mean, at least if we were natives, we're not acting like natives. If you check the animals, I know they adapt to Earth. We are the only ones who don't adapt. We want everything else to adapt to us. Why is that? Everything has to be adapted to us. Why are we so unflexible as a race? I really don't understand. If you study history, you'll see. We started adapting really well, but then something happened. I don't know. Maybe we're too intelligent, or maybe too dumb. I don't know. Sometimes I think animals are super intelligent because they don't really need anything. They adapt so well. I mean, that is intelligence in a way. It's not about making planes with big skyscrapers and then tearing them down, It's not about that. It's about how you live, how your attitude towards life, your attitude, how you relate to people, how you relate to yourself. That's real, how to live, Materialistic wealth, accumulating, possessions, that's okay. I don't know if that's a value, actually. But it seems like everybody thinks it's one of the most important values. If you have materialistic wealth, then you achieved everything. Somehow. But then those people are so unhappy. And that is what I started talking about, perception, right? Circumstances don't make you. You make the circumstances. You know? Like the example, I love this example, you know, potatoes become soft in boiling water. And eggs become hard in boiling water. Water is exactly the same. But each subject reacts in a different way. So we choose how to react in the circumstances. You know, you can have nothing and be super happy. And have a very fulfilling life. I've seen that. You can have everything and you can be miserable. It's all based on perception. You can say, oh, he had so many opportunities, why didn't he take advantage of them? He had no opportunities, but somehow he created those opportunities in his life. So it's really, that's again, you know, what we're talking about, you know, do we have a choice? Are we in control? Up to some point we are. So what do we need? Thub, shut up, ngejung. At least those are three things that we can start with. Means thub would be method, right? Compassion, warm heart, loving kindness, empathy, gratitude, consideration, space. So all those things, you know, that's the method. And then you have the shut up, which is the wisdom, the understanding, the knowledge, the information. And then you have the ngejung, which would be like the renunciation, you know. We're trying to get rid of suffering, right? So it's not about, oh, I'm going to suffer to get rid of suffering, right? I'm not going to enjoy life anymore because I want to be rid of suffering, and then all you're doing is suffering. It happens. People fustigate themselves. Does it say that? Fustigate? Flagellate them?
Self-flagellation.
Oh, because I don't want to suffer so much anymore, so I'm going to flagellate myself to purify. We do that with our mind a lot. Really, it's a great metaphor. I do it with my mind. Not so much anymore because I've learned. But I've been so hard on myself during most of my life, and I've really suffered based on that because I really would put myself down and be really harsh, you know. And so that's, it's not constructive, you know. Be hard with yourself up to a point, you know, like, hey, you know, you want to improve, you don't want to repeat mistakes, you don't want to create habits that are, you know, are not good for you. So in those aspects, yeah, you have to be hard. Or even sometimes self-compassion, you know, someone's taking advantage and they're just getting too heavy. Also, self-compassion means cutting with that relationship, you know. So there's many aspects, okay? Don't generalize all the time, you know. Each person is different and you have to relate to that person's life and their perspective and what they need and what they don't need. So these are different aspects. So renunciation really is not so much about, oh, now I'm going to renounce, oh, you know, that's it, I'm not going to do what I love most. You know, just because I want to be a better person. I mean, obviously, what you love most is killing people, and that would be a great thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking like in a normal kind of aspect, like a normal people kind of point of view. Things that we like means, you know, things that we're attached to. It doesn't necessarily mean harming others. If it involves harming others, then much better not to do, because it's going to end up creating suffering for you, apart from the others, and it's going to de-evolve you. So that's de-evolution and evolution. Those are the two aspects that we have. Moving forward, moving backwards, creating habits that are going to be helpful or not. But renunciation truly means to observe, you know, to understand, to be aware of the process. And in doing so, then you understand you're not so attached, you don't get so grasping anymore. So you can enjoy it because you let go. You know, to let go doesn't mean to say goodbye, it means to be grateful, to appreciate. That is what letting go means. Two birds cannot fly if they're stuck together, right? They need space. That's love. That's appreciation, right? And then that's how beautiful is that? They fly perfectly well together, but with space. So these are just metaphors you see in life that help you to see other aspects of ourselves. You know, people, indigenous, used to always copy the animals or the plants, you know, whether it be in dressing style or be it in dancing style, how to flirt with the girl, you know, they'll be like, oh, the dance of that bird is really cool, I'm sure it's going to work with that girl. Try it out. Yeah, nowadays, What do? We look at one photo that's been photoshopped 20,000 million times. No, I want to be like that. Oh, why can't I be like that? No. And then we believe it so much, and then we get so depressed. But the original person who got that Photoshop done, if you see their face, the original face had absolutely nothing to do with the Photoshop photo. But somehow that is the idealization, that those are the values. Unrealistic, completely. They don't even exist. If you want to study and learn about emptiness, think about that. About publicity, about capitalism, about the system, you know, that, I mean, it's empty in a way, you know. It moves, somehow, but it's barely moving. I mean, it's like, it's falling apart constantly. That's because I can't work like that, you know. It's not the nature of the human. The nature of the human is warm heart, you know, it's consideration, is working together. That's how we started off. We started off sleeping together in caves every night. You know, listening to each other, farting and snoring every night. That's what our ancestors did for thousands of years. Believe it or not. So, and now if you go to cities, people share the same wall for 20 years and they don't even know who's sharing the wall with them. So yes, we are reaching a golden age, but we have to be really aware and careful. You know, misinformation and all these, you know, distractions. So, you know, like, use to your advantage the technology, but know who you are and where you're going, what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. And really try your best, you know, to be a good person. And when I say good person, it means relate to what you want to receive and how you want to be treated, you know, to others. That's when I say, for me, a good person is like, I mean, of course, it's exceptional cases like a masochist, you know what I mean? They like to pain, so they would, I mean, you wouldn't want, if you're a masochist, that's not what you want to give to others, right? Because not everybody is a masochist. But in general, that's why, you know, it's very important to also relate to each person, you know? Not everything will work for everybody. And that's also sometimes it happens, you know, spiritual bypassing, you know, people focus so much on the intellect, they forget about the actual practice or the attitude. You know, so much this, so much that, blah, 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 oh, this teaching, that teaching, this initiation, this practice, this, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly somebody talks to them and maybe they're stressed and they answer badly. I've seen sometimes, you know, sometimes when the guru comes, people get so stressed and they talk badly to each other. And it really surprises me. Because it's like, wow, the guru's coming, man. You know, I mean, it should be inspiration. It should create even more empathy, more community awareness, more love, more kindness, more, you know, consideration, more patience, more humility. All of those aspects should flower. Why do people get so stressed and talk so badly to each other? Because because that's the idealization. That is a bypassing right there. That is a taking refuge in a concept and grasping. You know, oh, today the guru looked at me, oh, I'm so happy. Today the guru didn't look at me, I'm so depressed. What? Poor guru. Wow, he has to look at everybody then. Every time, every day. You know, it's true. And it can become really sad also, you know, in many aspects. You know? So much grasping, you put all the responsibility and idealization, expectation on a baby. You know, because you don't have enough with the guru. You didn't have enough. He taught for 40 years about impermanence, about everything that you have to know is already there. Not only that, it's not like in the time of the Buddha, where you had to walk for 3 months, you could die in the path. Dacoits, robbers steal everything from you. You get sick. You get lost. I mean, there was no GPS, right, at that time. You ask somebody, how do I get where the Buddha is? I don't speak your language. After 2 weeks, people don't speak the same language anymore, walking. You know, and then how are they supposed to know where you're going if it's super far away? They don't know. So it's really difficult. You really have to know, like, it wasn't an easy task to move back in the days. The time of the Buddha, for example. And then after, let's say, 3 months, okay, you get there. Finally, you survived. You get there, and then your seat is like, where the Buddha's sitting is like, way over there. And you're like, okay, how am I going to hear him now when he talks? So basically, you don't hear him. You just hear the interpretation of a bunch of people who are expressing what they understood to the next person, to the next person. Maybe it comes fourth, fifth generation to you. And then what you understood of what the Buddha said, it's just the fourth, fifth generation of what people understood. So you can't even interpret it from your own point of view directly. And now, what do? Press play, space, you can just keep it on, drive, listening, or, have some cookies, whatever it is, lie on your sofa, and just press play and listen to the teachings, for example, We have that available to us. So we have to be really, really grateful for that, these aspects. But it's true, that the Guru, we really have to be careful. You can't do that. You can't get so attached and dependent on a concept. Because then you forget about yourself. And then that's the whole point. The more you're searching outside, the less you're going to be aware of yourself. The less you're going to actually come in contact with what you're really looking for. What are we looking for? Happiness or non-unhappiness, right? So how to achieve that is by really looking within. Because the true happiness lies only within. We can only be the only ones who make us happy. Nobody else is going to make us happy, even though we want to believe that. Patience is not with others, patience is with us. The same way, happiness is with us. And the path, the practice has to be done by us. So it's very easy to think, oh, the Guru will save me, he'll teach me, and then everything's fine, because I have a Guru, now I'm a real tantric practitioner, whatever. It doesn't work like that, I'm sorry to say. At least, it's my responsibility, my duty to say that, Because, and yes, I'll take the blame, and I'll take the hits, and I'll take everything, no problem. I'm here now, and I've got here, and yeah, you're stuck with me for a while, I must say. You're not going to get rid of me easily. Not at all easily. So, I'm sorry if sometimes it makes people unhappy. Yes, please. What? Tell me. No, I finished.
You mentioned the golden age. This is like
the
golden age.
Golden age, yes.
I think about that, and I take a look at the world with my eyes open, and I see ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, the British Empire. I see ancient Greece. They peaked like 2,000 years ago as a culture and as a values and humanity, and they've slowly gone downhill.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like, and I hate to be pessimistic, but today it looks like we, instead of evolving, we're devolving. I see mass shootings every day. I see in Myanmar Buddhists and Muslims fighting and killing each other. Not everyone has the opportunity to grow up with the Dharma that maybe you have, as we are hopefully studying here. It just seems to me like the world is not evolving, but is devolving.
Okay. So I'm gonna talk about an example.
Can I ask a question for that?
Sorry, I just want to answer this question. Otherwise, I'm going to forget about what I want to say right now. Sorry, I'll come back to you.
No, it's the same thing. Okay.
Oh, okay. So the example I wanted to say, before I forget, is like this concept about, like, for example, Muslims and Hindus, oh, they're fighting this and that, or Pakistan, India, blah, 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 whatever. If you look at it from the outside, oh yeah, politically speaking, oh, it's a terrible situation. But if you think about it, Muslims and Hindus have been living together happily as a family for thousands of years. It's people, if you go down to earth, if you go down to what really counts, people are happy. People, they take care of each other, they love each other. Okay, I mean, everybody's struggling, we are having difficulty, we're all in a different process. But it's this concept about, oh, it's bad, this is a lot about, like, the political concept. But if you go down, it's true, people get along really well, normally. It's true. Why do we think like that? It's because we focus on the negative aspect a lot. We overvalue that. But bad things that are happening is probably not even 1%. If it was probably more than 1%, we couldn't survive, actually. Probably. It's probably much less than 1%. But if we really check the difference between the positiveness and the negativeness is less than 1%. But that 1% is really big for us because we overvalue that. We overvalue it more than positive things. And that is just like in the news or in everyday life, you know, like something bad happens, we really make a big deal out of it. You know, it has a lot of weight and importance. So it's about, I understand, absolutely, I agree, yes, that there's a lot of bad things and crazy things going on, and humanity is just repeating the same cycle again and again. Absolutely. I love history, and for me, I see we're repeating the same mistakes, and much worse. Much worse, actually. It's a tool. Wherever you know, that tool is going to take you one way or another way, but you are the one who chooses. So the tool, for example, is like wind. You know, you have wind, you have a sailboat, and if we all allowed, right, the mind to act like the wind, then probably our sailboat would crash against rocks. You know, so basically, Dharma is telling us how to sail the sailboat using the wind to get to where we want to go, to a safe port, a safe haven. So that is why we have to train the mind, to domesticate the mind, put it to work. And yes, I agree with you, but also I have to agree with you to disagree that there's many more good things happening. You know, many more good things happening, and everything has its positive and negative part. Some bad things can happen in our life. At that moment we can be like, this is so bad, but then maybe in the long run it's actually really positive. Maybe it helped us to really get out of our comfort zone and helped us to really practice. And in the long run it really made us much more happier or more satisfied with ourselves, you know. So we can't really judge. We like to put things in boxes, but the key to this is being equanimous. Not reacting, so we don't condition. So we don't create a habit to suffer. So equanimity is a very important aspect. You know, moderation, the middle path. And all that starts with great gratitude, because when you're grateful, then you're only observing the good things in your life. And that's when those things are going to prevail. So I say golden age because I think we're always in a golden age. Because we're alive and we're able to practice Dharma. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama is here. We share the surface of Earth with him, we share the air, and we share it with everybody, right? The space, we're sharing that, believe it or not. We're sharing so many aspects, constantly. We are interdependent. So the earlier we find out, the better. This concept of existing independently is ridiculous, even though we act like it every day. And we treat everything as if it exists independently, but the fact that nothing exists independently is the first step to understand, you know, the concept of reality, so that we can actually start practicing renunciation. Okay, so yes.
Just the last point. We forget that the last two cultures that were mentioned, Greece and Rome, they were slave states. You know, slavery is virtually eliminated around the world.
Imperialism.
Anyway, we can go on and on with that. So, but I would like to talk to you about two phrases you used. Number one was fear of your potential, and the corollary phrase you used was fear of confronting yourself.
Okay, so fear of your potential, fear of confronting yourself. Do you want me to touch
If you'd like
base?
to, yeah, I mean.
How about another phrase to add to that one?
Sure.
Save yourself from yourself. That's what Dharma is telling you. We can be our best friend, we can be our worst enemy. It's all up to you. If you're alone, if you feel lonely alone, you're going to be lonely with anybody. If you're unhappy with yourself, you're going to be unhappy anywhere. So that's what I mean about observing yourself, confronting yourself. What do you fear most? Did you have some traumas when you were a child? Did you have things that happened to you? Do you have insecurities? Do you have difficulties that you don't want people to know about? There's so many different aspects. You know, do we have issues? Like for example, with me, my issues, I can talk about that. With my mother, for example, or with the mother of my son. There's the only two people that I have difficulties with in the whole universe. Starting with myself. So what is it? I don't have patience with myself. I invite the guest called Rage at 4 a.m. and offer him tea and give him absolute power to my house. Of course, I'm gonna regret it so much afterwards, but I can apologize all I want. It's not gonna, damage is done. And I repeat that a lot. Now it's not so much because I don't have so much contact with either. But it's true, you know, householder's life is, I think, a very difficult one, and it's a great opportunity to practice. To practice Dharma through understanding samsara. While I was in the monastery, I studied philosophy, but it didn't make much sense, you know, I wasn't able to relate to it, you know, I couldn't apply it to anything. Until I left the monastery. Oh, and then I was sucked into samsara. But thanks to that information, it really helped me. If I didn't have that information, it would have been, I think, I probably would have ended up somewhere else, not here. So I'm really grateful for the information. It has really helped me. And that's why also I want to share it, you know, for people who are struggling. I've struggled all my life. I'm still struggling. I still have a lot of difficulty. And I probably will continue having difficulty most of my life. But at least I really like the phrase, and sorry for my friends, I know I have had people telling me that I should stop swearing in my talks, but I'm not going to change the way I am. It's the first step of change is to be aware of your own bullshit. And, okay, it can be a swear word, I don't know. But it's very specific, you know, I mean it's words, it's language. I'm using language. Sorry. I mean, we humans created those words. So, anyway, so at least as long as you understand what I'm trying to say, then, you know, I use the word correctly. And it is true. Okay, it is true. The first step of change is to be aware of our own, you know what. You can say it. So that is also what I'm trying to tell you about confronting ourselves, because that's how it is for me. Every time I would make a mess of a situation, like I'm number one in getting myself into trouble. Like I'm really good at that somehow. I mean, look where I am right now. So that is so that's one of the issues, you know, that somehow because of my ego, my pride, you know, I react sometimes, or I feel. This is one of the things also that affect me a lot. Is like when I try my best to be a nice person, to be a good person, to be a considerate person, to be a patient person, to be a humble person, to just give the best of myself, and that the person just throws it all in my face, turns it around, and acts like I'm the worst person in the world. Oof. And the Lung, you know, the winds, they're coming up so strong. Me. I tried so hard, and my intention was good. What? Excuse me? Didn't hear correctly? Your intention was good, you wouldn't be like that, right? You wouldn't be in that state of mind. It's because I expected something, because I conditioned that. So many times, I want to offer and act like I'm really nice, just to kind of self-fulfill myself, to feel good about myself. That's like spiritual bypassing, for example. Not spiritual, but it would be more like self-gratifying bypassing or something like taking refuge in self-gratification by making yourself believe that you're a good person. By repeating that to yourself and to everybody all the time. No, I'm a really good person. I meditate and I dedicate. I pray for all mother sentient beings every day. Every day. And then your lifestyle is another story.
Yeah.
So yeah, so in my case it's like that, you know, I really have to be really aware of all these aspects, and if I'm not, then I just keep repeating them, and then I go nowhere. I'm stuck in the same place. So I have to thank my mother and the mother and my son for really, really, really being able to help me to just all the time. Like they're just relentless. Now, finally, that I relax more and I don't take things personally anymore. I try to just like, I don't take it personally, and then I can breathe. I'm much more happy. Whatever anybody does, whatever anybody says, however anybody acts, doesn't matter. I give my best, with the best intention, and I'm happy. You know, and even if I'm wrong, I still say sorry. And that's good, you know, because it creates a space for the other person to also, you know, try to make an effort to communicate like that. And to forgive, even if the other person did something that's unforgivable. When we forgive, we take away that space from ourselves, that weight. Because and also you let the other person forgive themselves too. Because maybe they regret the rest of their life, and then just because you don't forgive them, they can't forgive themselves, and they have to carry that in their suffering. So it's just a weight. These are aspects that we have. That's what I'm talking about. Looking at yourself. Stop carrying weights that don't belong to you. It's somebody else's problem. Why are you carrying another person's problem? Why do you make somebody else's mistakes another person's problems? Why do you make it your own? Don't take things so seriously. That's what I learned. If I learned to become water and to adapt, I was much happier. That's what Bruce Lee says, right? When Bruce Lee is speaking, be water, my friend. You put water in the cup, it becomes a cup. So, and it's true, water keeps its purity all the time. However pollution, however dirty it becomes, it can always come back to its true nature. And water is always giving. Doesn't expect anything in exchange. It's not like, oh, I'm giving you life, but I want something back. And if you don't, then I'm going to be really angry with you. Like I act. So water is a great example. That's another metaphor of life to learn from, for example. How does water act? It adapts to any situation. And then it's always giving, 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 without expecting anything. Okay, so I think we are good for now. And we have one more question. How many questions do you have? How many more? 2? And then? Do we have more? 3? And then? That's it? Okay, so 3 questions. And we wrap it up.
On your website, you talk about warriors of clear light. Could you describe?
Okay. Warriors of the clear light. Yes. I don't know, I just really like that name. It sounds really good. I feel I'm a warrior of the clear light. And not because I'm fighting for some light somewhere. Because that is the light that I have within. And wherever I go, there's darkness, and that light, I hope it can shine always. And warrior is just a concept of struggling, never to give up, and always to try to achieve your goal and success in that sense. And my motivation is one big love, right? It will be to be able to create that kind of universal harmony, so the collective memory of mankind can actually start properly living, because we're not really living very well. So anyways, hopefully through mistakes humanity will learn, and hopefully through the information and all the golden age technology that's coming up, we'll wake up. If not, the next generation for sure is going to hit us in our head really hard. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're coming strong, so. But we have to create the right platform, the right conditions for them to be able to thrive, for them to be able to make those changes, Because it's not about, oh, we're destroying Earth. No, I mean, Earth is fine. Earth has been here for a long time, it will continue for a long time. It's about humanity, I mean, we're going to wipe out life on Earth. That's what we're going to be having to be worried about. We're destroying ourselves, basically, and life on the Earth. And it does reflect, the way we live does reflect how Earth is being treated. How unhealthy we are in our lifestyle. Not just the mind, not just how toxic our mind can become, but also what we eat and what we put in our lungs, how we speak, what we channel, the frequency of the energies we channel through our body when we relate to others or relate to ourselves. So it's not just, there's all types of pollution. I mean, there can be also mind pollution. Right? Not just air pollution and water pollution. So just, healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy food, healthy body, healthy mind, it all goes together, drink well, take care of yourself, think healthy, be gentle with yourself, be easygoing, take it easy. I mean, I'm talking to myself. Yeah, no, it's been really difficult. Now for me, I'm living the happiest time of my life, so. Well, it's always been the happiest time of my life. Every day is the happiest day of my life. That's how I try to live, so. And I think it's a great way to perceive life. and then I'll just finish off with the beginning. We have 2 more questions. Did I answer the? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, if you could say, what were the causes that led to taking off your robes?
Taking off my robes.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, I offered the distance a little bit, you know, because they represent celibacy. For example, that's just one example. But vows is just a very personal thing, you know. So, I mean, for me, I just wanted to live my life. Simple as that, you know. And when I was 18, that was it. So, it took me about 15 years to understand what Dharma was talking about. And I suffered a lot. And I think, I mean, suffering is also a good thing, you know, because that's how you learn. If we didn't suffer, it would be like God's enjoying so much, it would just be burning our merits and not practicing Dharma. So you don't want to be all the time enjoying, you know. You want to be also be able to recognize samsara so that we can create renunciation.
That's right.
Otherwise, if we don't know that there is a suffering, we're not going to create the cause to get out of that, or to help others to get out of that. So it's just many aspects like that. But personally, for me, I just want to be me. That's it. You know, I don't want to be anybody else's concept of who I'm supposed to be. I mean, I did that for 18 years. I think that's enough time. So more than half of my life already. So. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's dedicate all the beautiful energy that we have created and send it out to the collective memory, and not just of this planet, but of infinite sentient beings, in infinite omniverses of all times, from all dimensions. Chanjo Sanjo Ramboje, Maya Banam Gigureje, Kyawara Nyambara Mebara, Pone Pondo Parawara, Yawadi Nudoda Lama Sangye Jubian, Dora Jigyam, Korwe Shinkamdi, Pendan Dewa Mali Jumen, Jene Sewa Tenzin Gyatoi, Shabe Side Pardu Tenguru.